Yegor Timorovich Gaidar was born on March 19, 1956, in Moscow, then part of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic in the Soviet Union. He came from a prominent intellectual and literary family. His father, Timur Gaidar, was a rear admiral in the Soviet Navy and a well-known military correspondent for the newspaper Pravda, who had covered events like the Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba and maintained connections with figures such as Raul Castro. Gaidar's paternal grandfather was the famous Soviet children's writer Arkady Gaidar, who adopted the surname Gaidar, meaning forward in the Caucasus language, as a nom de plume, despite the family being ethnically Russian. On his mother's side, his grandfather was Pavel Bajov, another renowned Soviet writer known for his folktales. This family heritage immersed young Gaidar in a world of literature, journalism, and ideological discourse, shaping his early exposure to Soviet elite circles. Gaidar showed early academic promise, graduating with honors from the Faculty of Economics at Moscow State University in 1978. He pursued postgraduate studies there, earning a Candidate of Sciences degree, equivalent to a PhD, in economics in 1980. His thesis focused on economic evaluation methods in socialist systems. Following this, he worked as a researcher at various academic institutes, including the Institute of Systems Research and the Institute of Economics and Forecasting of Scientific and Technical Progress, where he delved into economic theory and began critiquing the inefficiencies of the Soviet planned economy in 1980. Gaidar joined the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, CPSU, a common step for ambitious intellectuals in the USSR. He rose through academic and journalistic ranks, becoming a senior researcher and contributing to economic journals. From 1987 to 1990, during Mikhail Gorbachev's perestroika reforms, he served as the economics editor for the CPSU's ideological journal Communist, where he advocated for market-oriented changes within the socialist framework. He also worked at Pravda as head of the economic department from 1990 to 1991. Influenced by Western economists like Milton Friedman and Friedrich Hayek, Gaidar began forming a network of like-minded reformers. As perestroika accelerated, he aligned with Boris Yeltsin, quitting the CPSU in August 1991 amid the failed coup against Gorbachev. This pivot positioned him as a key advisor in Yeltsin's emerging post-Soviet government. Gaidar's political ascent was rapid following the Soviet Union's dissolution in December 1991. He played a role in drafting the Belovezh Accords, which formalized the USSR's end. Appointed Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Policy and Minister of Finance in November 1991, he became the architect of Russia's shock therapy reforms, inspired by Poland's successful transition under Leszek Balcerowicz. These included liberalizing prices on January 2, 1992, which ended state controls and led to hyperinflation but aimed to eliminate shortages, cutting subsidies to industries and the military, reducing the budget deficit, and initiating privatization of state assets. Gaidar argued these measures were essential to prevent economic collapse, famine, or civil unrest, given empty state coffers and depleted food reserves. In June 1992, at age 36, Gaidar was named acting prime minister by Yeltsin, serving until December 1992. He navigated intense opposition from the Congress of People's Deputies, which refused to confirm him permanently, leading to Viktor Chernomyrdin's appointment. Gaidar returned as first deputy prime minister from September 1993 to January 1994, playing a pivotal role in the 1993 Russian constitutional crisis. On October 3, 1993, he appeared on television urging Muscovites to defend Yeltsin's government against parliamentary hardliners, helping rally support during the violent standoff. Gaidar's reforms remained deeply divisive. Critics, including economist Grigory Yavlinsky, blamed them for hyperinflation, peaking at 2,500% in 1992, a sharp GDP drop, mass poverty, and a decline in living standards. Per capita calorie intake fell by about 3.5%. Privatization enabled the rise of oligarchs through loans for shares schemes, fostering corruption and capital flight. Many Russians viewed Gaidar as a symbol of the chaotic 1990s, with some labeling his policies economic genocide. Supporters, like Jeffrey Sachs, praised him as the intellectual force behind necessary changes that averted total collapse, arguing alternatives like gradual reform or martial law could have led to worse outcomes, including a return to authoritarianism after resigning in January 1994 following poor election results for his pro-reform bloc Russia's Choice. Gaidar founded the Democratic Choice of Russia Party. He led it until 2001, advocating liberal reforms. In 1999, he co-founded the Union of Right Forces, SPS, alliance with figures like Boris Nemtsov and Anatoly Chubais, winning a seat in the State Duma where he served until 2003, chairing committees on budget and economic policy. SPS performed well in the 1999 elections but faded amid rising support for Vladimir Putin. Gaidar also joined a 1999 mediation mission to Belgrade during the NATO bombing of Yugoslavia. By 2003, he largely withdrew from active politics, criticizing the Yukos affair and growing authoritarianism under Putin from the mid-1990s onward. Gaidar directed the Institute for the Economy in Transition, later renamed the Gaidar Institute for Economic Policy, a think tank he founded in 1992 to analyze Russia's economic shifts. He authored numerous books and articles, including Days of Defeat and Victory, 1996, a memoir of his reforms, State and Evolution, 1997, on post-Soviet economics, and Collapse of an Empire, Lessons for Modern Russia, 2007, warning of imperial overreach drawing parallels to the USSR's fall. His writings emphasized market liberalism and critiqued Russia's drift toward state capitalism. Personal life. Gaidar married twice. His first marriage in the 1970s was to Irina Smirnova, with whom he had a son, Pavel, born 1975, and a daughter, Maria, born 1982, who later became a politician and advisor to Ukrainian officials. They divorced in the early 1980s. In 1984, he married Mariana Strugatskaya, daughter of sci-fi writer Arkady Strugatsky, and they had a son, Pyotr, born 1990. Gaidar was known for his intellectual pursuits, enjoying literature and history, and maintained a low-key personal profile amid his public controversies in November 2006. While in Dublin promoting Collapse of an Empire, Gaidar fell ill after breakfast, experiencing vomiting, unconsciousness, and bleeding. Hospitalized for weeks, he claimed it was deliberate poisoning by enemies of the Russian regime, possibly linked to the Litvinenko case. Investigations were inconclusive. Some suggested natural causes or food poisoning, while ally Anatoly Chubais rejected Kremlin involvement but called it a political attack. Gaidar recovered but remained convinced it was attempted murder. Gaidar died unexpectedly on December 16, 2009, at his country home near Moscow, aged 53. The cause was pulmonary edema triggered by myocardial ischemia, complicated by a blood clot. He was working on a new book at the time. His death prompted tributes from reformers like Chubais, who called him Russia's savior, while critics reiterated blame for 1990s hardships. President Dmitry Medvedev praised his courage, and Putin acknowledged his patriotism. Gaidar's legacy endures as a symbol of Russia's turbulent transition, hailed as a visionary by liberals, vilified by nationalists. He is buried in Novodevichy Cemetery in Moscow.